Alright, so recording started now, and let's get going. So what we were doing, what we have done till now was we had three machines. We have three machines, or actually, I have three machines here, and the VM1, your first name, VM1 SQL, and then we have AD, DNS, DHCP here, and also we installed Ssms, SQL Server Management Studio, and then there is the second one, and that has the Active Directory. Well, not Active Directory, but that has the Ssms and SQL Server 2016. And okay, so yeah, we have to SQL Server 2016 two instances, and Ssms installed here, and then we have the third SQL Server here, and that has one instance, single instance SQL Server here, and I've installed Ssms here already, which was not done in the previous class. So once these two SQL servers are installed, how do they communicate with each other? So that's the first step. So this SQL server, which has two instances, need to connect over the network to the third instance here as well. And how do we do that? So within the Ssms here, we should have three instances. Two instances that were installed here and one instance from there, so we should be able to see within the Ssms three instances. So we're going to try this. So guys, I'll also put that option that I was told to ask in chat. You can read that in the chat as well, that if you want me to do that whole thing in local machines inside VMware Workstation, so some of you can also follow that. Maybe you are also doing that in VMware Workstation, which I'm doing on Azure, but if you want me to continue with this in VMware Workstation locally, so then some of us can follow who are able to install virtual machines in a SQL Server as well. So I can do that, but I have to then I can just show you today as well that till now what we have done, I can do it inside VMware Workstation on premises, and once we reach here with two SQL servers, then we can continue with the big labs. So we need to connect the two machines, and then there is mirroring and replication and always on or failover clustering labs are there. So depends. I have if some of us can or want to follow the labs with me in VMware Workstation, then I can just create the whole thing today till here where we are, and you can see all the steps and then follow me. If not, then I can continue with the rest of the labs here, and you can take screenshots of my screen. Also, there's a second suggestion in the WhatsApp as well, that is you can just get that Azure subscription as well with your credit card if you want. That's where you get $250 credit. So it's not mandatory, it's just strongly recommended, but if you want to follow along with me within the circumstances, these are some of the options there. So let me know if you want me to, well, on WhatsApp you can know, or let me know that if you want me to create the whole SQL as well in VMware Workstation. And some of you who were following in Exchange Server can also follow SQL in VMware Workstation. If you want me to do that, then I can create the whole environment in this class to show you, and you can follow as well. But otherwise, we're in Azure right now, and so Azure VMs. So now these suggestions set, now we can continue, and I'm just open to any of your suggestions. So here we have two SQL servers now, so that's ideal for implementing some high availability and disaster recovery features. So two SQL servers, and one of the features that we're going to try today. So first of all, obviously we need to connect, right? Connect the two SQL servers, and then second thing is we need to configure the database mirroring feature. Database mirroring. Okay, so some of these, in Azure, the speed is also, network speed, bandwidth also is going to be an issue. So if the two servers need to talk to each other and need to specially do synchronization, so if we need two SQL servers to start synchronization, which means updating one database's data on the copy that is on another SQL server. So in that case, you will have we would need some more bandwidth and speed. So whatever changes are being done on one database can go over the network across to the other machine, and the database copy there should receive those updates as well. So for that also, I was thinking that if I want to switch the lab from Azure to my VMware workstations, I will try to do that in next class, because otherwise either I can just do it and start VMware workstation in next class, or I can show you as well if you want. So it's, again, the decision is up to you. If you want me to show, I'll cover it up or install the whole thing in VMware workstation, just like in Exchange we did. That's the same way we're going to do it in SQL as well. But right now, since I just offered those options, and if there is any comments, let me know. Otherwise, I'm continuing for now. So what I'm saying is that I could, in next sessions, I could just do the same lab in VMware workstation as well. Why? Because I'll see that some of the advanced features like always on, replication, and this mirroring as well requires some speed to synchronize, and Azure, if it is not providing that, then I'll switch my lab to VMware workstation based, where the same three machines will be there and we'll be able to do all the labs. Okay, so let's go ahead and first of all, how to connect the two servers. We were talking about that, so let's connect two SQL servers from within Ssms. And for that, what is needed is enable both SQL servers SQL browser service. So there's a service that we need to enable, which normally basically is shut down, or is it it's disabled. Now, if the browser service of a SQL server is up, then the SQL servers can talk to each other. If it is down, they cannot discover each other over the network. So where's that service and how to configure it? So then enable named pipeline as well, and those named pipelines are just, you want to access over the network by name the SQL servers and SQL databases, then you have to enable that service as well, and try to connect to second SQL server from the Ssms of the first SQL server. So we're gonna try to connect that, and if you have just changed your admin password, then go to services.msc and then to SQL Server service for default instance and change its password there. Suppose you had to change the password, it expired, or just like in production environments, you have to configure you have to change the password every month, then in that case you have to go to services as well, services area, and the SQL Services username, if that's a username whose password you've changed, so you have to go to services and change the password there manually as well. Otherwise, just changing the password in Active Directory and not changing here for SQL Server, it will stop the SQL Server because the password of the username it's using is suppose changed. So manually we have to just go there and change the password. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to my Azure environment and simply that's the virtual machines here that I have, and I'll go to first virtual machine overview and start, and then second virtual machine and start, and then third virtual machine and start. So if the performance here is for the advanced features not satisfactory, then I will just quickly create for next class, may or may not, I will create the 3 machines of SQL Server in my local machine, and then from there I can show the rest of the labs as well. Because with local machines we have a lot of speed as well, a lot of synchronization speed, replication speed is good. In Azure everything is metered. It's kind of not really that much. So the 3 machines are starting, and the first machine I'll just quickly log into that with Bastion. So I'll go to Bastion host and use Bastion and go to the first machine. Actually, your first name, admin SQL, that's the username. So today when I logged in just to check if Azure is working fine, so it did mention that the password is expired, so I had to change the password at that time. So because of that, some of the SQL services stopped working as well, so I have to change the password in the services area as well. So I will show you that as well, where you go to do that. Okay, so the first machine is trying to connect. So that's my second machine. Well, it's still starting, so I will know once it is local server. So what I'm trying to do here is just first of all let the 2 SQL servers discover each other over the network. And for that I need to go to the SQL browser service and enable that, and then try to discover within the Ssms of second SQL server, the third SQL server, I need to add that too. So that's the first task here. For this I'm starting the 3 machines here. Okay. Oh, it's not as admin SQL connect should just connect fine. Okay, and so that's my first machine, and the second machine I think I gave the wrong password as well, so I'll just try it. So that's my first machine. I'll go back to the second, and Bastion here as well. First name admin SQL. Second and third. I think it's not fully started, so hopefully I put the and password is change 1. Okay, so that's my second machine, this is my third machine, and this is the first one, second, third. Okay, so once the machines are up, I'll just go to the second machine, and this is the SQL Server, first SQL Server, and I'll try to first start the SQL Server Management Studio here on second SQL Server, and then I'll start on third SQL Server as well. Okay. Okay, Dylan. So Dylan, yeah, you can just take screenshot of my screen. Okay, so I think I don't know. His audio is not working, I guess. Okay, so I'm just starting the Ssms on both SQL servers, and this is the second one. I'll just go for local server here, and this is the third machine. I'll go here, so that's the third machine, and Ssms is starting on both, so it's here. Well, it's still starting here. So it started here as well. So for server 2, SQL Server 2, I'll just connect to the local first instance of the SQL Server, and once it is connected, okay, so it just say there's an update for Ssms, which I will update later. So remember that in last class we had second instance also installed here, so I'm just going to connect the second instance on the same machine, VM2. So I'll click the connect button here and check that if I can connect to the second instance. So there was that second instance, we named it that way. I'll connect this one. So that's the second instance of SQL Server in the same virtual machine. And other than that, we now need the third instance, which is actually this other SQL Server here. So while it is still trying to connect the second instance here, a regulated instance error occurred while establishing connection. SQL Server was not accessible. Verify that instance name is correct and that SQL Server is configured to allow remote connections. Okay, so this SQL instance is actually not remote; it's local, but it is giving me error. So I'm just going to check out here in the services and services.msc and just see if the SQL instance, second instance related services are up. So I'll just expand that. The second thing is I'll click the startup type, automatic. So there are all the SQL Server services available, and I can see that for second instance here, the service is not running, but for the first instance it is fine. So second instance, and also one more thing, that second instance and first instance are both, well, at least the second instance is using my domain admin account. So if I just right click and start this service, so it's not working. So as I mentioned before as well, that when I was checking in the morning my SQL Server, so my domain administrator, this user account's password expired. I changed it and logged in from the machines, but I didn't change it for the second instance, so that's why the service itself is not starting. So that's what I wanted to show you as well, that you can go to the service itself and change its password from old one to the new one. So I'm just going to double click that service and go to log on area here, and during the installation of the second instance we did define that it will be domain administrator having full access to the second instance as well. So since I changed the password today, I had to change because it expired. So now I'll put the new password here. After the correct password is placed here, then it should work and it should start. The second instance should start. I'll apply that new password. Okay, and then once the password, the changed or new password is there, now it should start. Should. Okay, it's running now. So I'll minimize this, and I wanted to connect to this, and there was an error before. So this time I should be able to connect. So I'm going to click the connect button here. Okay, so I'm able to connect with the second instance. That while there's a second instance here, I need to actually connect to the third instance, which is on the second SQL Server as well. So what I need to do for now the two instances here are on the same virtual machine, right? The same virtual machine here, but the third instance is here, and so that's not. We have to take some more steps to connect the third instance here as well. So I'm just going to click that third virtual machine where its own instance is waiting to be connected first of all with Ssms. So can we even connect? We installed a SQL Server in the third machine last class, but now I'm just gonna try to connect to the SQL Server locally first of all. So I'm able to connect locally, but this one I need to connect from the other instance. So I'm just gonna go back to the Ssms of VM2, virtual machine 2, and two instances of SQL are there. I need to add the third one now. So first I will try just without doing any extra steps. I'm just going to try to connect to the third instance, and if I go there, I can try to put a name there and of the third instance. So what's the name of the operating system or the machine here for the third instance? So I'll just grab that name here, fully qualified domain name, copy, and go to the Ssms of the second SQL Server, second machine which has the SQL Server, and I'll paste it here, the full name. So what I'm telling is that hey Ssms, there's another SQL Server installed in virtual machine 3, so please connect me to that one as well from here. So I'm going to click the connect, and so it's actually connected. So let me show you that what really happened in the background, that it is connected. But if you don't go through several steps, which I actually went through already just to test that before the class as well, so it is able to connect, although I needed to show you first before connecting those steps. So if I'm just going to disconnect from this second SQL Server's instance, overall it will be third instance, but it's on the other machine. So in your situation, if you are trying to connect the remote SQL Server over the network, it's not remote like it's in the LAN. So according to the diagram, if this SQL Server wants to connect to this SQL Server, then we need to go to Sql Configuration Manager. So Sql Configuration Manager, I had configured all that, and then I also unconfigured it, but somehow it's still configured there. I thought there will be an error coming now when I try to connect from second machine to the third machine SQL Server, but it did not show me any error. So SQL configuration, we need to go first, and then enable SQL browser service and enable SQL named pipeline. So these these two services we need to enable. Then you get to remotely connect from within the SSMS to the other SQL server. So I connect the second instance. Hamid is asking, oh, did I disconnect? Yes, I disconnect. Now, why did I disconnect? I disconnected because I wanted to show you, I was expecting an error here, right? And I then wanted to show you that where to go and configure that. But since I tested all this, that does it connect even or not, just to save some class time, I already tested this. I turned on this service in daytime and turned on this service to check, and then I was able to connect. Then I unconfigured them. Then I turned them off back. So what I was expecting now was an error, but somehow these services are still working in the background. So why I disconnected? I just want to show you that you're going to get an error if you try to connect the two SQL servers. If you don't enable this in the background first, and you don't enable this in the background first, then you will get an error. Well, I didn't get that error, I still disconnected, but I'm going to connect again. So let me show you what you need to do to achieve this. Achieve what? To be able to connect to the other SQL server. Once you just install SQL Server here and install SQL Server on the other machine, that simply does not connect at all. So the way it worked for me will not work for you unless you do what I'm trying to show you now. And that is, I'm just going to cancel out from here. If you want to reconnect, so first you need to go to another of the SQL service, which is called SQL Server Configuration Management, right? Okay, so SQL Server Configuration Manager. So I'm just going to click that SQL Server Configuration Manager, which is very, very important tool here in SQL Server. So SQL Server Configuration Manager. And it really controls the services that are running in the background of your SQL instance. So SQL Server Configuration Manager here, and if I click the SQL Server Services, these are the main services that it is showing there, and you can see that there is SQL Server, your first name, second instance, and whatever instances we've installed here. The first instance default name is MS SQL Server. The second instance is just this. But what do you see here is the SQL Server Browser Service. That is actually disabled, and that's why I was just scratching my head. How come this service is disabled and I was able to connect the two SQL servers? This server has to be, but I did enable it and checked it, then I disabled it back just to show you guys. So I'm going to check this same service in other SQL server as well if it is enabled. So I'm on the other SQL server and I'm going to the SQL Server Configuration Manager. Now suppose you haven't clicked that before, then where do you find it? When you find it here in 2016, and in the 2016 there is that red SQL Server Configuration 2016 Configuration Manager. So once you click that, then it comes in your most used icons there, but it's under this folder SQL Server 2016. So Configuration Manager, I'm gonna just click here as well and check that if the browser service is working. So I'm going to go to SQL Services here, and yes, the browser service is not working here as well. And it was actually not connecting for me when I had not enabled that. And obviously, normally what you will see is that it's not going to connect unless somebody is doing the lab with me right now in your VMware Workstation machines. So did it connect for you or not? So that would be my question then, because we haven't configured the SQL Server browser service yet, right? What you need to do is for the two machines, two SQL servers, to discover them over the network. First you open the SQL Server Configuration Manager, then you go to SQL Server Services here, and then we're gonna first enable that. So it is not only stopped, but it is disabled as well, right? So it is disabled right now. It says, so I'm just going to double click that SQL Server browser, and it opens here, and then I'm going to go for service, and then there's a start mode is disabled. So what we need to do is that SQL Server browser service is the main cause. This service normally okay, it says one of them running but third VM is stopped. Oh, okay. So I mean, you have a machine there. Cool, very good, man. Okay, so start mode here, I'm just gonna enable that. So this service must be running in automatic mode, and the state should be started or running. The state should be running. So I'm just gonna apply here start mode automatic, and I'll press OK, and then I'll go to SQL Server. So it's still stopped. I just need to start it now. First of all, it needs to be started. So whenever I restart in future, so this service just should be running. So I'm going to right click and start this service. So that's the first requirement of letting of the two servers, SQL servers, discovering each other. And then the second one is that I can go down to SQL Server network configuration here. So this one, SQL Server network configuration, and here also protocols for MS SQL Server. First of all, TCP/IP protocol obviously should be enabled so they could communicate with each other over the TCP/IP network. And then named pipes just means that the SQL Server and the databases wants to communicate over the network with each other by name. So let them contact each other by name. So I'm just going to click enable here, and any changes made will be saved. However, they will not take effect until the service is stopped and restarted. So after we have made this change, I need to restart the SQL services. Another rule of thumb here is that whenever you want to restart SQL services, so do not go here in the services area in the operating system based services. Do not go here, and we can actually restart. Technically we can restart from here as well, right? But Microsoft says do not ever restart services from here. Always go to SQL Server Manager and always restart services from there. So if I go here, SQL Server Services, and I right click here, that's just refresh. But if I go to the MS SQL Server and right click here, so I can restart the first instance, I can restart. So if I click restart, then whatever operations suppose were going on, whatever data was being entered will all be disconnected. Anyone connected to the first instance will be disconnected if I do this. So, but I've made a change here. I know there's no other connection here, so I'm just going to right click and restart this service. So those are the two services that we need to start and then restart the instance as well. So it's starting now. So that's the SQL Server browser is running. So I'm just going to make sure that this is the same done on the other SQL instance as well. I'm just going to go there, and it is stopped here as well. So I'm going to double click that here, and so there is a picture shown here. I don't have any protocols. Oh, you have okay, named pipe is already enabled, which is okay. So yeah, you have, and it's okay. Oh, okay, so you don't see what I see there as network protocols, but under the network configuration you see that. Yeah, mine is also network configuration. So it's named different, but you still see the same things as Hamid, which is okay. So let me just. So I'll go for services here, and on the second machine I'm just gonna click automatic. And here I'm going to click apply, and then I need this service to be started as well. So I'm just going to go back here, right click and start, so the two SQL servers can connect to each other over the network. Now we haven't started the agent service yet, because when we need it, then we start. And when do we need it? When we want to schedule some tasks, when we need to do some monitoring notifications that we need. So then we need SQL Server agent. So when we take backups, at that time we will need this SQL Server agent to be started. Right now we don't need. when the two SQL servers are trying to connect to each other. So I'm going to go down here to SQL Server network configuration for the third VM as well. I'm going to go for protocols and named pipes here also. I'm going to enable and press OK. It says that you must restart if you want it to take effect. So I'm just going to right click. Oh, I'm going to go to the Sql Server Services. There's only one instance here, the default instance installed in the third machine. I'm going to right click and restart that. Okay, so once these two are done, then we can expect that the SQL servers can add each other and connect with each other. So I'm going to go back to my second VM where my first SQL server is there, and I'll minimize this SQL Server Configuration Manager. I've done what I wanted to do, and the Ssms is there as well, and I need to connect. So two instances which are locally installed on the second VM are already there connected. I just want to connect the third one. Now, well, before it was supposed to give an error that browser service is not open. It doesn't exactly say that, but that error comes. Now I'm just going to try again. And so the service, well, you did see that it did get added here. Now if I, so this is the remote service, but those two services have to be added for the remote instance to be added here successfully. Those two services have to be enabled, the browser service and the named pipeline. Now I'm just gonna minimize this to show that now we have three SQL instances here excuse me, showing, and we then get to know that how that is possible. So whatever is going on in the third virtual machine, so I am connected there. Okay, sorry. The Ssms, I'm connected here as well, right? So this same instance I can just handle from here as well now, right? So this would be our first screenshot, the two SQL servers connected on LAN. So this is our first screenshot. This is our first screen, the two SQL servers connected over the network. Two SQL servers connected over the network. This would be our first screenshot. So let's take a screenshot here, take a screenshot here. I'll just take a screenshot. So that's a sample screenshot. And so screenshot 1, 2 SQL servers connected over the network. Okay, as usual, it's not working, but I have another way to make it work. Okay, so I'll just put it there as well. Database and equals screenshot 1 two SQL servers connected over the network.
Is this the first screenshot?
Yep, this is the first screenshot. So I'll not yet this one. I'll take you back there. This one. Title is there in WhatsApp as well. Two SQL servers connected over the network. So that's our first screenshot here. Hopefully everyone has taken that and try to make sure that your name shows somewhere. Okay, so that is two SQL servers connected to each other, and if I'm now in second VM, and if I expand this databases here, so I'm just gonna, from the second virtual machine where the first SQL server is there, I'll try to just remotely create that. So database, new database, does it let me do that? So I'm just trying to create a database remotely in the other SQL server. So suppose it's your first name db0, I think I don't have 505, and if I just go down there, so this is the local path. So suppose I just don't go for the the database is separate, and log files, separate files, separate paths there, or disks. So I'm just going to press OK here. So that this database is created from second SQL into over the network in third SQL. But is it or not? I'm just going to go to the third SQL now and check it out in the databases. So yes, this is created. So you can just remotely do any tasks on the other SQL server, as we were able to create that database here. And from third SQL, obviously I can add the two instances here as well. So it's two-way. If I just again try to connect, then I want to show one more thing here, is that you can also go to this server name area when you're connecting, and then go down to browse for more. And in browse for more, there is a database engine you want to connect to. So there is this these two instances showing there, but network servers, there's another tab here, right? So it tries to retrieve data over the network if there are, select a SQL Server instance in the network for your connection. So it tries to search for the SQL servers in the network, and majority of the time it just shows all detected SQL servers. So it does show that what database engines it was able to discover. Right now it's not showing the third SQL server. We just now added that, but it's supposed to show the third SQL server instance here as well. Although we've created database from within second SQL and into the third, and it is actually created there. So now the third should be showing, but maybe after a restart it should show. It will show that it has been discovered already. So I'm just gonna close this connect button here as well. But how I connected was, I just had to put that server name, remote server name there, and we were able to connect. Okay, so that was that, how to connect the two SQL servers there. And other than that, how to also install an extra feature in SQL Server. So last time we installed a second instance of SQL Server within the same server. So if we go back here, so how to install, okay, this detail was for this. So how to connect to SQL over the network. Okay. All right. So okay. So then the next one is what I wanted to explain here, that we know how to install a second instance in the same machine, and then we install the third instance in the other machine as well, and connected the two. But what if we need to install here a major service, or like if we want to install, suppose in an existing SQL Server analysis services service, or reporting service. So these are two major services that are available to be installed per instance. So for these are not shared services. These are per instance services. So if we need to install any one of them in an existing SQL Server, how do we do that? And then we're going to go for a redundancy feature or a high availability feature of a database called mirroring. So analysis services, this is instance level service. It's not a shared service between the instances. So if you want to add just in the second instance any one of the services, so how would you do that? So that would be our then next task. That would be not that big challenge. So I'll just quickly go for how to install a new feature for an instance in an existing SQL Server instance. So that's so I'll just go quickly to that. So let's install analysis services or reporting services, whichever. Install analysis service for second instance only, for second instance on VM2, right? So for that we just need to go to so I'm just gonna go to my second instance there, and second virtual machine there, and in the second virtual machine I will go to the that control panel, because I need to make sure that if in the DVD that so first of all I go to control panel, and let me show you that where can we go to install that existing feature. Either we can just initiate that installation of SQL Server, or we can go to programs here, and in the programs and features, and then there are all the SQL Server installations, and its different feature installations are showing here. But if we go to this one, SQL Server 64-bit, and right click here, so it says uninstall or change. So that's where we can actually, when we go to change, we can add any extra new feature from the DVD or ISO of the image. From there you can install in the existing SQL Server. But first of all, you need to make sure that do you have a DVD that is mapped to the SQL Server ISO before we go here. So I need to check in this VM2 if my virtual machine DVD or CD is mapped with a SQL Server. So I'm just going to go to the yellow folder here, and then go to this PC, and I don't see any DVD or CD here. So I'll just go back here. So this is in the downloads folder I have the ISO already available, and I can just mount it. So in a virtual machine you can just mount from outside, or you can mount from inside as well. So I right click here, and the mount button is there. So if I click the mount, now you can see that there's a DVD here, and the ISO is mapped to the virtual machine DVD as well. So I'm just going to click this VC, and that's, you can see. So once this is mounted, then from this ISO you can install any extra feature on existing SQL Server, right? So first this is done, and then we can go back to where I was, control panel, programs and features. So here we can click uninstall or change. I'm just going to click that button here for this specific one, 2016 64-bit, and once we click that, so then it tries to access. Now this is what it shows here: add, repair, remove. So you can remove the whole thing, you can repair the SQL Server, or you can actually add here something. So guys, this would be our second screenshot. This is our second screenshot, how to add, so where to add new feature in SQL Server, where to add new feature in SQL Server. So second screenshot here. I'll just take the screenshot, sample screenshot here. This is the sample screenshot. Hopefully you have taken it. I'll put the title, how to add new feature in a SQL Server. So screenshot 2. New feature in SQL Server. How to add a new feature in a SQL Server. So take a screenshot number 2. Okay, I'll just go back here, copy. Okay, got it there. So database, full screenshot 2 in WhatsApp as well, and how to install new feature in a SQL Server. Okay, there's a sample screenshot 2 there. So once we right click here, SQL Server 2016 64-bit, and I'll click the add button now because I need to add a new feature. So when I click the add button, it says, hey, where do you want to go? This PC, and in this PC I will go ahead to the DVD. I'm gonna select the DVD here, right? I'll just select the top, just the DVD here, and I need to press OK. So once we select the DVD and press OK, then it just initiates that wizard for installation of SQL Server, but it goes a bit ahead. Instead of starting the first page, offering a lot of options there. So here the objective is that we need to connect we need to install a service in the second instance, not the first instance. So here there's perform a new installation. No, we're not performing a new installation. We're going to go for add features to an existing instance of SQL Server 2016, and I can see that there are 2 instances here, right? So that's where we choose which instance you want the service to be installed. So I'm just going to go for the second instance here. Once we select the second instance here, then click next. So then it asks that, okay, you already have installed these SQL Server application, which is an upcoming topic, full text and semantic extractions, data quality services. But there are these 2 main features. Analysis services includes analysis services and tools used to support online analytical processing, or OLAP, and data mining. So only database engine services and analysis services can be clustered. So if you want to do clustering or make the database engine highly available, you can also make analysis services highly available as well. So if I select that, obviously it's going to ask a lot of questions related to that. So if I select that analysis services for just the second instance, I'm selecting. So I'm not going for any shared feature here. So this is just for second instance. And once I selected that, though, it's just giving me the installation path here. So I'm just going to click next. And the analysis services is either it's going to use the local account, service account for that, and then there is a SQL browser, server browser as well. The account is read only here. So, or we can give the domain account here. So if I just change that to browse and then go for SQL, your first name, admin SQL, tab, check name, spacebar, and it detects that from Active Directory. Press OK, and then I'll just put my new password and click next. So just saying that multi-dimensional and data mining mode you want, or tabular mode you want, or power pivot you want. But the main thing is that specify which users have administrative permissions for analytics and analysis services. So I'm just going to click that. The current user, we're giving full privilege to do any kind of changes in the configuration service, in this analysis service. So once this is added, I'm just going to click next. So the third screenshot would be the summary of this page. Oh, and there you go, summary is here. So this just shows the summary of the new feature. So summary of new feature being added to second instance. So take the third screenshot, guys. Summary of new feature being added to second instance. Summary of new feature being added to second instance. So I'll take a quick screenshot 3 here. So screenshot 3, summary of new feature for second instance. Okay, so I'll just take it again. Oh, okay, it's there, so I'll just copy that. Really? So I'll just take it again. I think only for this class my screenshot taking capability is affected. Alright, out of screenshots. That's nasty, but I'll just go for. Okay, right. So I'll put that screenshot, well, the detail there, and if you can take the screenshot of this when I'm saying that. So database equals and the detail, and well, hopefully you're taking the screenshots there. But again, yeah, this happens. I think only in SQL class, I guess, that screenshotting somehow is affected. I think the Azure is eating up so much of my memory, or the clipboard, I guess. Oh, okay, thank you, Paul. So there's that screenshot showing there. So I'll just put in the details of that. Okay, I'll just click install, and yeah, so it's not a very big installation, so it's going to go ahead fine, and it's going to install the analysis services. But this is the way to go ahead and install the analysis services. Now, well, while that installs, we can go ahead and talk about the redundancy service there, that is mirroring, and it's actually called database mirroring. And for that, we can just check out some of the details. So first of all, we know how to connect the two SQL servers, and then there is that SQL Server 2016 mirroring. Now this mirroring is not actually the whole SQL Server mirroring, it's the database level high availability or redundancy feature. So database mirroring is a solution for increasing the availability of a SQL Server database. So Main thing is that it's a SQL Server database that's going to be mirrored. Suppose there are 10 databases there, so whichever database you think you consider as critical, you would want to mirror that database. And so mirroring is implemented on a per database basis and works only with databases that use the full recovery model. So the recovery model is related to the backup, the way you want to backup. Obviously when we go to the backup topic, we're going to talk about that too. But this is one of the features there, which we will talk some more later as well. So overview of that: database mirroring maintains two copies. Maintains two copies of a single database that must reside on different server instances of SQL Server database engine. Typically, so first of all, they need to be on different SQL servers. So that's why the whole effort of creating a different SQL Server database there. And so what will happen is that we're going to create that. We have actually 3 or 4 databases there already, or we can create one more. But the main thing is that the database, the principal database and its copy has to be across 2 machines. So that would be, we can say active, passive, active, standby, so this would be the active DB, and then this would be passive or standby / standby DB. Typically, these server instances reside on computers in different locations. Yes, starting database mirroring on a database initiates a relationship known as database mirroring session between these server instances. So database mirroring session will be created between the two, and then we will know that, okay, so if the session is disrupted for some reason, so we will know that, okay, there's no session right now enabled between the 2 databases, so you can just try to find out what was the reason. So there are some terminologies there. So first of all, the benefits of database mirroring: increases availability of a database, increases data protection, improves the availability of the production database during upgrades. So obviously if you're doing a upgrade there, and that's the third point there. So if you are suppose upgrading the databases here or the SQL Server here, then you would just simply fail over to this database, making it active, and this one passive, and then you can go ahead and upgrade that. Once it is upgraded, then you can fail back to this upgraded active, and then the passive can be upgraded as well. This is the same thing that happens when you're patching or installing monthly Microsoft security updates or driver updates or critical updates. So the database which is passive, you start patching that first, and then go ahead and restart that as well. And when it is fully restarted, and then you wait for a while, so all the updates are gone, and then all things are updated, all changes are updated here, and then you fail over the active to the passive. This becomes active, this becomes passive, then you patch here and restart as well. So the failover configuration really saves that time. Suppose the users were connected, 1 or 2 users were connected. Normally you do failing over during the weekends when the employees are not connected, but if you had to fail over during the peak time when the employees excuse me, are connected, so in that case still they will not lose any connectivity. Well, there is another scenario here which I will tell you about the witness server, but before that I'm just going to go back. So yeah, data is protected obviously when you have 2 copies of databases, so one goes down, the other one still has it, so it's protected, and increases availability. So that's the main thing we're going for, so it's just available even if 1 copy goes down. So if we go for further, so increases availability of database in the event of a disaster in high safety mode with automatic failover. So there's a high safety mode with automatic failover, which we will be talking about. So failover quickly brings the standby copy of the database online without data loss. So when we talk about high safety mode and no data loss, then we need actually a third SQL Server as well, which I'm going to explain now. In the other operating modes, the database administrator has the alternative of forcing service with possible data loss to the standby copy of the database. So what it says here is that if you are in the high safety mode with automatic failover, then there will be no data loss. Now, what is that? Now, for that, obviously, if you want automatic failover of the database if disaster strikes, then you need a third SQL Server. And how does that work? So suppose you have a third SQL Server here, and that SQL Server suppose is named your first name VM4 SQL, and that has to have a witness database here. So witness, this SQL Server itself would be witness SQL Server. So whenever you talk about failover, the word witness always comes, and wherever you're going to see that, so you may have done MCSA, or maybe you've done some courses of Microsoft where failover clustering feature may have been discussed, or you may have done some lab on that too. So failover cluster, I'm also offering that free course on my LMS. I've created a running management system of my own LMS. So if anyone wants to access that 70-740 course with all the labs before you hit the market and start looking for jobs, you should do all the labs of 70-740 MCSA 2016. Anyway, so their failover clustering is one of the main features that if you crash one of the two servers, the services on top of the crash server just simply fails over right away, instantly, within seconds, to the other SQL Server. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you need automatic failing over if crash happens, then you need a witness SQL Server as well. And what is the purpose of a witness SQL Server? So witness SQL, right, instance. So the only purpose of a witness, and you're going to see that in I need to actually show you the DAG, or database availability groups, in for Exchange server, the email server, right, in next class. So there also we're going to have that discussion of, oh, we have a witness shared folder here, or a witness disk here. We're going to have we can have a third SQL Server that is a witness. So what does a witness do? Witness simply sees, checks that, or are you alive, or heartbeats, it send and checks that if active database is still up or not, and in case it is down, then witness server just simply wakes up in seconds the passive server. Hey, you're on now, the active is gone and you're up, so the passive becomes active. Well, that's the job of witness. If you want automatic failover, you're doing something else, all of a sudden server crashes. Now obviously you have no time to lose. I mean, like you can't save anything here. Suppose you're somewhere else doing some other ticket, resolving some issue, so it must fail over automatically to the other one. If it does, so whichever number of applications were connected to this database, their connections will be redirected automatically to the second, the copy of this database that will now be active copy. So while you're doing something else, it was all taken care of, right? Why? Because you had a witness SQL Server to tell the passives and standby machine that first one I can't connect to, go ahead, you're the active now, and this happens in seconds, right? Obviously this means that there's constant communication there, and normally it is synchronous replication, that is, and heartbeats are sent every second here to this. So suppose suppose the witness is gone. So witness crashes for some reason or disconnected for some reason. Now what happens? So now, well, nothing happens. If nothing happens to the active machine, it just keeps on working, and you just make sure that this witness machine is up and running. But if witness goes down and coincidentally it also happens that this server also goes down, so in that case then there is no one to wake up the passive server, and passive server will not know that it's supposed to be activated now. The failover will not happen automatically, so if the witness is down. So that's how important the witness SQL Server is if you want automated failover to happen. But we don't have a third SQL Server now. So in our case, and Microsoft or SQL Server mirroring offers these options. Oh, you want to configure with witness server, or you want to configure without witness server. So if we go for without witness server, so what will happen is we can manually failover, yes, but if a disaster strikes, automatic failover option is not there. You have to just manually failover. You have to come here and manually make it a active machine if the third SQL server is not there. So that's a bigger environment there where you need even the third SQL server for the mirroring feature. So that's what it's saying, that if we go back in high safety mode with automatic failover quickly brings the standby copy of the database online without data loss. So this is what they are talking about. And if we go back, increases data protection. Database mirroring provides complete or almost complete redundancy of the data. Why do they say almost complete redundancy? Why the word almost? Because if you don't have automatic failover, if you don't have the witness SQL Server separately deployed connected to these guys, then it is almost then, right? So almost complete redundancy would be that hey, you would lose some data when you're failing over manually yourself, and if there's a crash here, so there will be some data loss. So it's possible to do same thing that witness does using APIs. Yeah, application programming interfaces. So APIs. So yes, it is possible with APIs, but it depends on what is the distance. Suppose it's I'm talking about LAN here, right? So what about you have APIs that are connected to WAN here. So normally we're talking about cloud where we use a lot of APIs there. So in that case, it can automatically fail over as well, but normally there is a data loss. Why there is a data loss? Because there are two types of replication that we may have talked about before as well. So synchronous replication and asynchronous. So synchronous replication can work because it's same time replication, so it works on LANs. And yes, if APIs are on LAN, this is possible, but if it is asynchronous, so there's a long distance here, you don't have enough bandwidth, then, well, yeah, there will be a data loss. But yes, they can also work. But there are other technologies when you talk about APIs, you talk with applications that are on container and Kubernetes. So they have very advanced functionality of offering high availability. So well, if it's you can check the Kubernetes and containers as well when it comes to this. But yes, you can offer high availability. If but will there be a data loss? Yes, it depends on if it is synchronous replication or asynchronous replication. Depending on whether the operating system is high safety or high performance mode. So there is high safety where you have so what we call this one, your SQL Server 2016 witness, that would be high safety, right? But then there's another one, high performance. So high safety is that we need synchronous synchronous replication, and high performance would be async replication, right? So async REPL. So Well, asynchronous is just that it's going to use less bandwidth to send all the data. So then there will be lesser data, or less frequency the data is being copied from active to passive. So overall performance will be high for the CPU and RAM for running their own local processes there, while high safety is that synchronous replication, lots of bandwidth is needed, lot of CPU and memory will be used to send. Whenever you're making a change here, obviously this is same time represent. When the change is being made here, same time it is being made here as well. So that's why a lot of network connectivity and bandwidth is needed for that. So the performance is affected when you're doing a lot of synchronous replication there. So if we go back here to this, the two modes now, the high safety and or high performance. It's so your choice. You want to go for that. A database mirroring partner running on SQL Server 2008 Enterprise or later versions automatically tries to resolve certain types of errors that prevent reading a data page. So the partner that is unable to read a page requests a fresh copy from the other partner. If this request succeeds, the unreadable page is replaced by the copy, which is usually resolved. So page is just the smallest unit in our database where data is written, and it just says that it has its own error correction mechanisms as well. But that is also in availability groups, which is an upcoming feature. This is a big one. Availability groups, and I may also prepare my local lab as well. If on Azure, it takes more resources and more processing and slows down the whole process, then I'm going to go for I'll try to keep my local VMware workstation based SQL machines as well handy for this. Okay, so there are some error correction mechanisms that they're saying improves the availability of the production database during upgrades. So to minimize downtime for a mirror database, you can sequentially upgrade the instances of SQL Server that are hosting the failover partners. This will incur the downtime of only a single failover. This form of upgrade is known as rolling upgrade. For more information, upgrading mirrored instances. So there are many other options for upgrading mirrored instances as well, and normally so there's high performance, high safety without automatic failover, high safety with automatic failover. So you have all kinds of scenarios there, but this just will explain then how many ways you can try to upgrade. But normally what the best practice is, what I have already mentioned here, that just do the upgrade on the passive one and then restart it and then come back to the active one. Well, then failover and it will be the passive now, and then upgrade and restart this one as well. So all the time when the upgrade is going on or the patching is going on, active machine is still available for the applications to connect. So and then there is database mirroring terms and definitions. So there are some terms and definitions there as well. Automatic failover, the process by which when the principal server becomes unavailable, the mirror server to take over the role of principal server and brings its copy of database online as the principal database. So they're just the active database is actually here called principal database or server, and this is the principal one and this is the mirror one. So the passive would be mirror and the active would be principal. Okay, it's PAL actually. So failover partners, the two server instances, the principal server or the mirror server, that act as role switching partners for a mirror database. Okay, there are failover partners there. We get that. Force service, a failover initiated by the database owner. So we can actually force our database failover. Obviously, we will do that when there's a planned maintenance going on. Then we can force active on VM2 to failover to the passive on VM3. So that is just force. That's called in terminology force service. upon the failure of the principal server that transfers service to the mirror database while it is in an unknown state. So you can fail over the active or principal server database yourself as well if you think that it is not really working up to the standard, or it has some corruption, or some of the services are actually down or frozen, and you need to fail over right away and then fix whatever is wrong with this. But you can do that. In high performance mode, the database mirroring session operates asynchronously and uses only the principal server and mirror server. The only form of role switching is forced service with possible data loss. So that's what we were seeing, that if there's a high performance mode here, this means that you did not deploy a third SQL server as a witness server, so it's not there, right? So in that case, you will go for high performance mode there. But then if there's a failover needed, you do it manually. So failover is not done automatically. So it's the third machine that is needed, and that's kind of nowadays there are virtual machines, so it's much easier. The database mirroring session operates in asynchronous. So we talked about that, and then there are high safety mode. The database mirroring session operates synchronously and optionally uses a witness as well as the principal server and mirror server. So that's what we talked about. High safety mode uses 3 SQL servers. Manual failover, a failover initiated by the database owner while the principal server is still running. That transfers service from the principal database to the mirror database while they are in a synchronized state. So obviously you can do manual failover whatever you want, and we just talked about that already with patching or upgrade, or just the first one is corrupted and you just want to failover, right? So in that case, that's manual failover. And then you have their mirror database, the copy of the database that is typically fully synchronized with the principal database. Now this takes time, and that's annoying. So yeah, if I go back there up to SQL Server, okay, so the runtime service is done. I'll check it out at the time, but refresh. And okay, so I was just testing that mirroring and restore is still going on. And what am I talking about here? Restore, who's restore, what restore? So yeah, well, I'm going to tell you when that configuration comes, but it's kind of annoying that the two SQL servers in Azure are talking to each other slow. So that's not good. Anyway, according to circumstances, we're so dependent. So I really need to get my machines up and running locally as well. So anyway, mirror database, the copy of the database that is typically fully synchronized with the principal database mirror server in a database mirroring configuration, the server instance on which the mirror database resides. So yeah, mirror server is this. So this is a mirror server here that has a mirror database. Okay, we're just talking terminology here. And then, alright, so principal database. In database mirroring, a read-write database whose transaction log records are applied to a read-only copy of the database. So we also get to know that just like in any other passive active copies there, so this is always a read-write copy, and this is always write, read, and the other one obviously is the read-only. So obviously the users can not write on the other one. It's just read-only for if you're making any changes there, you can't, and it's going to only grab all the information from the active one. That's what it's going to keep on doing all the time. So that's what it's just saying there, principal database that writes all the transaction log records and send it to the mirror database. Principal server, so principal database is the actual database, and obviously the principal server is the one that has a principal database. In database mirroring, the partner whose database is currently the principal database. Okay, we get that. And redo queue. So there is queuing as well. So receive transaction log records that are waiting on the disk of a mirror server. So you're sending some data here, and that data needs to be written, and before it is written, it's just queued there on the disk. In that case, that is called redo queue. So enroll, the principal server and mirror server perform complementary principal and mirror roles. Optionally, the role of witness is performed by a third server instance. So it's just all the roles are enroll switching. You just failover, send queue, unsend transaction log records that have accumulated on the log disk of the principal server. So if you have some log files, so redo queue is just here where the log files or transaction logs or the data. So T logs are waiting to be written to the disk here, and then there is that send queue where the T logs have not been sent, and they are waiting to be, they're in the queue to be sent to those. The transaction log is all the data that is being written there. So so that's what just the terminology says here. And then there comes a session where the relationship that occurs during database mirroring among the principal server. So there's a session between the two for failing over, and after a mirroring session starts or resumes, the process by which log records of the principal database that have accumulated on the principal server are sent to the mirror server, which writes these log records to disk as quickly as possible to catch up with the principal server. So mirroring session is just, the whole process. So we get that already, that okay, the transaction logs will be sent, they will be queued here in active database, and until their turn comes, they are sent, they are queued here as well to be waiting to be written here on the disk. So all that is being held in a, or done in a mirror session. So and then there is transaction safety there, a mirroring specific database property that determines whether a database mirroring session operates synchronously or asynchronously. So there are two safety levels, full and off there. So this is just a transaction safety, and that is during the mirroring session, are you going synchronously, high safety, or asynchronously, which is high performance? So are you going in bursts, or are you going to send a lot of data there? Is it full or is it off? We're going to talk about that when we are configuring as well. So for use only with witness, for use only with the high safety mode. So that's what we talked about already, that it is only for use with high safety mode, an optional instance of SQL Server that enables the mirror server to recognize when to initiate an automatic failover. So this is obviously in production environment, you will have that third SQL Server as well, because you need automatic failover, not manual failover. Unlike the two failover partners, the witness does not serve the database. So in the witness, you will not actually have any database writing going on. It's just sending and receiving packets to know that if active is alive, up and running, or not up and running. So normally it does not have a database. I actually was showing that for SQL Server, that it is a SQL Server. I should not have created a database here. So normally it does not serve a database. Witness only task is to keep an eye on the active. When it is down, tell the passive to become active automatically. That's the only task it does. So you can't create databases on Witness SQL Server. Unlike the two failover partners, the witness does not serve the database. Supporting automatic failover is the only role of the witness. So it is all about failover. Yes, we can do manual as well, but if you want to achieve automatic failover, that's what the witness does. And that's the witness drive or shared folder that you will also see in database availability group in Exchange. That's the same thing you will see in VMware, Citrix, wherever you have. If it is automatically failing over, there has to be a witness server, a witness branch, a witness shared folder or a witness disk, right? So it's always going to be automatic failover will always, you will see with some kind of witness you know resource there, either a full branch having a witness between two other branches, and then there's witness shared folder that you're going to see as well. Okay, so there is that automatic failover shown there. Then there are some lab steps here as well that we can go ahead and follow. So make sure both SQL servers can connect over the network in Ssms, and well, we confirm that they can connect to each other. So make sure the firewalls are off in all three virtual machines, and on second VM, take a backup of a database which you want to create a mirror of. Place this backup on a shared folder, and on third VM, restore this backup to this database. Once fully restored, then start the mirror operation. Once mirror is configured successfully, if the sync between databases is done, then try failover. So what is this saying? This is saying, first of all, make sure the firewalls are okay and take a backup. So why are we taking backup here? Aren't we configuring mirroring there? What has backup to do with it? Okay, someone says, is it a good practice to turn off firewall in production? Well, normally some companies actually have a policy there, compliance policy, that OS level firewalls will be off, while other firewalls and other kind of security measures like end-to-end, protection with McAfee or any other vendor, or IPS, intrusion prevention systems, IDS, intrusion detection systems, and all kind of other security related configurations or software are already there. So some company, now I was there in Scotiabank, so there we had 2200 servers and 86,000 client machines. So our company policy there was to turn off operating system based firewalls only. Obviously not the branch firewall. So operating system based firewall, why? Because sometimes, so what does firewall really do? Firewall allows and blocks ports, right? So what happens is that sometimes, suppose there's a traffic going on for DNS port 53, 80, 389 port, and other traffic. So what happens is this firewall here, you have to add exceptions there, right? So sometimes what happens is exceptions just means that firewall is blocking everything else other than what you add in exception. So sometimes the Windows firewall tend to even out of a bad mood, I don't know why, but it just tend to even block exceptions. So Microsoft even on their documentation says that, hey, whenever you're about, if there's a connectivity issue, then I also check, first of all, turn off the firewall and check that if it's not the firewall itself, right? And then check anything else. So some companies have that policy of turning off the firewall on the OS level only, but many companies have firewall on policy as well, definitely. Yes, OS firewall, okay, yeah. So it means OS level firewall only, and but some companies do enable that. If you do enable firewall, then for SQL Server you need to enable or add the port as an exception, which is 1433, right? So this port has to be open. For DNS you have to enable obviously port number 53, for Active Directory 389. In Windows machines, normally what happens is that if you have Active Directory DNS DHCP installed and you have enabled the firewall, so it automatically detects that, okay, these applications are installed and let me add them to exceptions. So some of those are added in exceptions already. You turn on the firewall, and the traffic is still moving for these part of the application. But for SQL Server, yes, you just have to go there, inbound and outbound, TCP UDP. You have to add both sides, 1433 to further traffic and analysis services and some reporting services. So there may be other ports as well. So we need to check the documentation and add those there as well. So okay, now what we were talking about. So make sure the firewalls. So in our training environment, yeah, we're just trying to skip this. and make sure the firewalls are off in all three VMs. Then on second VM, take a backup of a database which you want to create a mirror of. So what has backup to do with mirroring? Maybe we may be thinking that, okay, we need to take a backup because we're about to mirror, and if it's going to go down, so we will have a backup. Yes, that's very good approach. But what's going to happen here is that you have a database, and we will be creating a backup of that. So it's going to create an extension for this database called so suppose this is db01, suppose. So db01.back, it will create, not bat, back. So it will create this file. Now this database file will be created of a current database. That backup file needs to be moved or be available on a shared folder in this machine, and that shared folder should be accessible from VM03 as well. So that backup file will be then placed here, and then through that backup file on the other machine, there will be no copy of that. Obviously, when you create a new database here and you're about to mirror, so when you're about to mirror, there is no copy of this already present, obviously. So what happens is you actually take a backup of that, and then when you put a backup or make it available over the network for this machine, so from here you're going to do the restore. So there you back up, and here on the other side you restore. So when you restore, you're restoring the exact copy of this database, but in another SQL Server now. So this means that similar exact copy of that is available now in the other SQL Server. So in many other operations, redundancy operations, you will see that database will create its own copies automatically. Here we're manually doing that in the mirroring. So we're gonna make it available over the network from this machine. Then we're gonna come to this SQL Server, and then we're going to do the restore of this copy. So when it is restored, an exact copy is available here. Once the restore is successful here, then we can start the process of mirroring. So there will be a mirror wizard that will show us that what's going on. So that mirror wizard will run, right? Okay, so first we need to do the backup, then we need to restore here to make a copy of that, and on top of that we're going to start the mirror wizard. So mirror needs to detect that there is a copy here and there's an exact copy here, and it needs to detect what are the names of those two servers here, and what kind of replication you want, synchronous replication or asynchronous replication. So it's going to ask all these questions. It's going to ask you during the wizard, but can you actually connect from here to this server as well? So if you go back here, yes, restore this backup database there. Once fully restored, then start the mirroring operation. So once the mirroring is configured, there will be an issue here as well. That's where I was trying to say about the speed of speed on Azure. That this. So what's the main purpose here? Main purpose is that I need to failover. Okay, first of all, I need to make a copy. I need the mirroring wizard to be successful. The mirroring wizard will be successful when you start the mirroring process. And what is the mirroring process? Mirroring process is that synchronization starts from here, replication starts from here to there, so from active to passive. But for that to start, what happens is that as soon as you restore the database here, it's going to as soon as you restore the database here, and then you start the mirroring process. So mirroring process wants that first these two guys need to talk to each other. They need to be fully knowledgeable about each other's presence and whatever data each other have. They need to be on the exact same state first. Then the mirroring will start. So for that, the synchronization will begin. As soon as you start the mirroring wizard, they will start synchronizing with each other. Hey, how are you? And yeah, this is I'm on this server, you're on this server. I have this much data, you have this much data. So mirroring will wait for that synchronization between the two database to finish 100%, and then actual mirroring will start. If the mirroring starts, then we can do the failover. We cannot test failover if mirroring or the synchronization between the two databases is not done. So that synchronization takes time. So that's the main thing that I wanted to say, that the two databases have to know each other on Azure. They do take time for each other to say that, hey, okay, I know now this guy very well, so how about we start mirroring now? Okay, so once that's said, let's try to go ahead and configure our lab there. So what we can do is we can just start. We can just create a new database there, and we can also go for existing databases as well. So whichever database you want to choose, you need to take a backup of that, place it on a shared folder, and then restore it on the other side, and then start mirroring on top of the two copies, active and passive, right? So for that, let's try to go for the first step. Make sure both SQL servers can connect. Yes, done. Make sure the firewalls are off in all three VMs. Okay, let me just double check that. And oh well, while I was doing that, so before we had this analysis services done, so I'm going to click close here for the analysis services, but this is how we can add a database. So if I go for the second SQL server, that was the second instance that I installed the analysis services in, and refresh. So I'll select that and refresh. So if it doesn't show here, normally it shows there in the services as analysis services. So I was going to go and check the firewalls, but since the last lab we were waiting for, so I'll go for services here on this machine just to check that analysis services says it's done. And I'm going to click startup here. And so there's a second instance showing there, and this is it. So second instance, SQL Server analysis services, second instance. So the proof here is, obviously it's in the background, available in the SQL as well when we put some queries there. But SQL analysis services installed successfully. That's just a proof that we can see right away. So guys, that would be our screenshot number 4. Analysis services installed successfully. Analysis services installed successfully. Screenshot number 4. Analysis services installed successfully. Take a screenshot here. I'll try first to take a screenshot and quickly go for first. Oh yeah, I can't. So okay, screenshot 4. Analysis services installed successfully on second instance, or just installed successfully. You can just write that too. So screenshot 4, thank you Paul for that, and I'll just copy this, put it there. Okay, so screenshot 4 is analysis services installed successfully on second instance. And let's continue with the mirroring of the database. Hopefully everyone was able to take the screenshot of that. Now, okay, getting back to screenshot. Okay, so it's this Jericho. Yeah, take a screenshot of this. Okay, so that's done. I'm just going to close that. And I have here 3 instances, and basically I want the services to, the mirroring to happen uh, with the first instance of on virtual machine 2 and first instance only instance on virtual machine 3. So between these two, otherwise it could be from second instance to third instance as well, but it cannot be second instance and first instance. And the reason obvious is that these both are on the same SQL server there. So VM2, VM2 here, so they cannot have mirroring, but these two can have mirroring. Any one of those or both can have mirroring of their own databases with another server, which is VM3. It has to be another server. Okay, and that makes sense as well. So what we're going to do is, if we expand, oh, I was going to check the firewall, sorry, so I'm just going to quickly double check that. Go to first machine, and it says off here. Normally we're not supposed to trust that too, but I'm sure they are off, and sometimes it just gets moody, and when you click it, there's a domain firewall is still on. So, and okay, so the second thing is that I'm just going to check it out here. So take a backup. Okay, that's what we have already our databases, but let's create a new DB on default path, right? On default path, not on the different disks. That was for best practices. We saw that, but I see that if I put it in my slow environment, um, putting it on separate disks is actually seems like it that it may be slowing down. So I'm just gonna put that database here. Although it's not supposed to slow down much. But on Azure, the mirroring is having some speed issues there, performance issues there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just create a new database there and just create its on a default path, and then I'll create a mirroring partner of that out there on the second machine. I'm just going to go back here to the second VM, close the firewall window, go to the Ssms and Object Explorer here. So here, that's the machine 2. I'm going to just expand that, and we have enough databases there. I'll just go for now. These are empty databases here, right? This AdventureWorks is the one that has a lot of data there. So even the empty is taking time for synchronization. So when it comes to, so if I expand that, okay. So I'm just gonna create one database here, new database. Otherwise, we can also do the exact same process on existing databases as well. Okay, so new database where I have db045 also I created. So your first name db06. I'll just go for that. Just putting that name, but you can see that there is the path here. So it's C drive and that long path here, right? So I'm just giving that long path here, and just to avoid some more surprise and just to avoid any kind of performance issues there. Although when we put database on different disk, it's supposed to be underlying SSD, separate SSD, and log files, it's supposed to be underlying separate SSD. So they are actually supposed to boost performance. Here we don't have that kind of setup. It's on just one underlying volume. We create 3 disks. So once that is given, I just gave the name and showing you the path, and I'm just going to press OK. Once that db06 is created, and I expand that, so that's it. So I'm just going to go ahead and right click here, and then go for the next thing would be the backup. So take a backup of database which you want to create Amir off. So here what we would want to do is that, well, that's not of lines, that we need to have a shared folder created here, or whichever machine, maybe shared folder could be here, right? So shared folder, and here we can just put the .back file of the database. So db06.back, but it should be shared, so obviously it should be accessible from that machine as well. So I'm going to create a that shared folder in machine 1 where machine 2 can save the backup file, and then just machine 3 will grab it from there and restore it inside there, right? Okay, so it says is a full backup each time or incremental? So full backup is normally on weekends, and the incremental is done on daily basis. Full backup is going to take a long time to back up everything. Incremental just backs up today's changes, and then there's a differential as well. Differential actually goes for days changes. Incremental actually goes for changes from the last full backup till today. Whatever changes were made, incremental backup just takes that. Differential backup, there's another one that only takes changes from the last changes till today. Whatever else was changed, it takes that. So, for the mirroring process, no, for the mirroring process, yes, it has to be full backup. So yeah, you're right. So for the mirroring process, when we're taking backup, so incremental will not be good enough. It will have to be full backup there. Okay. So okay, here I'm just going to create a shared folder here quickly in VM1, so we could go for having a folder to put the file on that VM3 can also access, although we can create that shared folder on any of the machines. So I'm on this machine 1 here, the domain controller. In C drive, I'll go ahead and create a new folder called backup -db, backup awful -db. Okay, and right click here, and I'll just go for share with specific people. I want, and then I can actually give it to the. I'm logged in from this account, your first name admin SQL, which is the enterprise admin as well. From all 3 machines, I'm logged in from that, so this account can have read and write access here. So I'm going to click share here, and this is the path, or the UNC path here. So I'll just double click that and grab this path as well. So I'll minimize that and click done here. So first of all, it is shared. There's nothing inside right now. So I need to just grab this UNC path here. So now I'll start the backup and put that backup here on the other machine. So I'll go back to this database. So the database that I created here, I'm going to right click here, go to tasks, and there's backup here first of all, then there's restore, there's mirror as well, so everything is here. Lots of other options as well for a database. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that backup first. Once we click the backup here, then there is recovery model full, so fully it can recover as well, and copy only backup we can have also, or just back. So normally there is nothing else we can change. We have to change here. So okay, so but where do you want to take a backup of that? So this is the local path here. So instead of that, I can just click the add button here and go to this 3 dots here, and I can just give that network path if it takes here. No, it doesn't take here. So I'll just grab from here and then go ahead. So normally, yeah, it's taking the local drive. Then from there, I can just put it anywhere else. So I'll just drop it on, right? So I'll drop it somewhere in F drive on the root, and call it so your first name db06. Well, it says here there's dot back here. So if I press OK, this path is given here. Actually, here I can give the path source. So if I just, so that's where I'm saying over the network, please save it, not local. So here I could give that. So I'm just going to press OK, and it takes this one. So I'll select this one that instead of locally saving, please save that backup over the network to another machine. And I'll try to press OK now. Okay, so it says backup failed for server, blah blah blah. Cannot open backup device. Oh, okay. Username and password is incorrect. Okay, although I'm logged in from the same one, but well, username, password, view connection properties. I can. It's the same username, password, but somehow I did not like that. So what I'm gonna just do here quickly is get that backup done on this path, but I'll just copy this as well, so I could go to this folder from this machine run, right? So I'll just open this path already. So that's where I'm expecting this to be. So I'm just going to minimize this folder and just take it back up here. Oh, okay. Again, username password is incorrect for cannot open. Oh, okay, so there is username password incorrect. Let me just sign out and sign in again. I'm in SQL. So I did change that username password. Okay, I'll sign out and sign in from. I'll simply close this session 3 and go back 2 and your first name admin SQL X was that X was that SQL 3 without SQL 3. Good. I hope the backup service is not using this admin account, otherwise I have to go there and check out the service as well. Okay, so I'll just quickly open the Ssms. Okay, that also did so. Okay, back here, I'll connect first to my first instance. I don't have to actually connect to my second instance because it's between first instance of VM2 and first instance of VM3, or only instance of VM3. So I'm just gonna connect only to VM3 now. Okay, these two. And on the instance where I was trying to take a backup, so db06 and tasks and backup, and this is the path. I'll just copy that path. Actually, that path is still there. So okay, was there something else missing there? That was on the restore. Okay, so oh, okay, that's done. So the backup of database db06 completed successfully. I'll just put it there. Oh man. Okay. Here, this is the DB06 backup that I will just simply grab it from here and open that other folder, backslash the first name, VM01. Okay, what was the name of the VM? Okay, I'll copy that UNC path here. And paste it over the network to the other machine. Now it's available for VM03 as well. So I'm just gonna go there to the VM3 and grab it from the UNC path and copy it locally somewhere. So I'll create a temporary file here as well. Folder DB backup. Okay, so the backup of that file has reached here in VM3. So if I go back here to VM2, well, the backup is there in VM3, right? So, but we are remotely accessing VM3 from VM2. So SQL Server on VM3, we are remotely accessing from VM2. So here, and there in VM3, we created that inside the C drive, a new folder. So can we access that new folder remotely from VM2 within this Ssms when we are restoring that? So I'm just going to right click here, the database, first of all. So I'll expand that, and I'll go for database here and then restore database. So once I click the restore database, I need that copy now. So I'll go to device here and I'll go to 3 dots. Then it says, okay, where do you have that .bak file? So I'm just going to click add because I need to go ahead and go to C drive. There's the C drive here first of all, and the folder is this DB backup that I created there. So we are remotely accessing the folder structure of the VM3, and it shows the backup file that it was going for, and I'll press OK and then press OK here. So now it's the recovery, no sorry, the restore for that database. So this means that exact copy we have now, but there is one option here that we need to select in the options area when we are restoring, and that is that restore with recovery, will restore with no recovery. So we're not restore with no recovery. We're not really interested in. Leave the database non-operational and do not roll back uncommitted transactions. Additional transaction logs can be restored. So with recovery is what it says here: leave the database ready to use by rolling back uncommitted transactions. Additional transaction logs cannot be restored. So it just says that no recovery means that it's gonna still communicate with its partner database. If the partner database, the active database, has some more new data there, the new transaction log files having new data there committing, so yes, let it be copied and received by this database that is being restored now. So additional transaction logs can be restored. So this is just saying that, okay, whatever extra copy the other database, obviously we're going to start a replication. For that, this is the way to restore for mirroring specifically. So this option selected here, and in the options, and click general. I'm just going to click general here. So now guys, you can take screenshot 5 here that you know what, if I press OK, it's gonna give me successful as well. So wait here, or not. This database actually failed. Okay, thank God you didn't take that. So hey, I got an error here, and it says, let me just check. No. Oh, so there was no screenshot needed here. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, because failed with the operating system error 3. The system cannot find the path specified. Okay. Oh, it's looking it at it. It's expecting it here in this path. While I showed this path, so .mdf file. So yeah, just yeah, wait a little and let me show you here. So I'll just go to this path quickly. In fact, I have told it to not follow this path, but what I'm going to do is I'll just go to this. So there's that right, this PC C drive, where program files, SQL 13. So the second instance, the first instance is the first instance, this one, and then MS SQL. Oh yeah. Oh then, whoa, what happened? So there are internet has occurred within the bastion host, and the connection has been terminated. Are you kidding me? Yeah, restore database was in VM3. We're storing it in VM3. So I'll just quickly close that. So I see VM3 here, right? I have two VM3s here. Oh, okay. So since I got disconnected, I'm just gonna connect again. But Bastion had some issue. Bastion host from it. Where was the restore database? Oh, okay. So, well, Hamid, the database which was supposed to be restored was in server 2, VM2, and from there we copied. So it was actually copied to this shared folder in VM1. From there we copied it to this VM03, right? So the restore database was done in VM03, and now I'm directly on VM03, but I was doing it from remotely from VM2 right now. So restore database is supposed to be done in VM3, but I was doing it from VM2 by remotely accessing the SQL. This is the remote connection of VM3 within VM2 here, VM2. Right? So restore database was done inside VM2, but remotely on VM3. So there is the restore database. I clicked from here by right-clicking the database under VM3 and restore database. Okay, so hopefully but you can explain me or discuss that if this is not what you were asking. So I'm just gonna go back here. That's where it is expecting the database file to be. So I'll just simply place it there on this. Check the spelling. Yeah, when I go here, it is the tools path that I am showing here. I should be putting this in 3. Sorry guys, I was just going to server 2 while I'm supposed to go to server 3 to actually check this path, right? So let me go to server 3 here, and since I put that dart back in this path and it's not accepting that, so I'll simply go to, I'm on server 3 and I'll go to the path where it expects it. So this is it, and this path I was going on server 2, which was wrong. That's why I was not getting even this path. I was supposed to go to server 3. I'm remotely connecting from 2 to 3. So when I grabbed this copy, I actually went to the actual machine of server 2, which was wrong. I was supposed to go to server 3 here. So I'll just keep that. Okay, I'll grab that backup file and put it in the folder where it's expecting me to put. I'm in server 3 right now. Here it's written there, the actual virtual machine 3. I'm putting it here. Before I put it in C drive of machine 3, but I am now putting it in the exact folder where it's expecting it. Right? Now I'm going to go to the restore process in machine 2, where I'm remotely doing that for machine 3. So there, so I'll just cancel this and click add button again. Now that file is there in the backup. MS SQL 13, MS Microsoft SQL. This is machine 3's folder structure. Well, although it should not have given me an error even then at that time, so I'm just going to press OK here, and again go to the options and go for restore with no recovery, and press OK to check that what's going on. Okay, restore failed again, although it was working fine. It's saying that it is expecting a .mdf file here. Failed with an operating system error. The system cannot find the path specified. Normally it's not supposed to give this error because it's just saying that, hey, when you're restoring, so we're expecting a file here in this path, right? So this is not supposed to come. So I'm going to simply, it's good that I've created some screenshots here as well, and where I can just show exactly what I have selected during this. So we're going to reach the mirroring, but first we need to simply go for this local path. So okay, I just gave the path of in the screenshots when I was testing, I just gave the path over the network of this database. So I can just try this one as well. So I'm going to try to restore once again, right? Restore database, and I'll click device and click the add button, right? And I'll give the path or network path here. So I give the network path and refresh. So the backup file is there as well over the network. But if it did not accept locally, I have doubts about if it's expecting here. Maybe I have to restart the machines. But this is my screenshots here that obviously I have to test first if it is even working. Restore with no recovery, yeah, that's all. And we normally press OK, and then it's supposed to give us this restored successfully, right? So I'll just go back here. Options. Wow. Okay, so I'm definitely doing something here that it's not acceptable, and it's just saying that where is this file in the directory local for the file. So it's looking for that file in the actual path 13 and Microsoft SQL Server 13. So let me just check that on server 2. Let's confirm. This is a server 2 path. So program file SQL program files Microsoft SQL Server MS SQL 13 MS SQL Server Amir MS SQL and and there's data. And in the data where I am now, DB06 MDF. So DB06 MDF is actually there. So it's saying that it cannot find that. Okay, so what I can do is I can restart both SQL Server machines and try that again, while you can also have a break at this time, right? So we're gonna come back at 8:40 and let's take a break, and I'll just also check out this error and then we'll go ahead. Otherwise, those who are doing that, the successful screenshots are also there. Okay, we'll just try to take a break here and then come back. Resuming, and all right. So what we were trying to do was, or I was trying to do, was to get the machines, the restore the backup. So well, in the break I just restarted everything, right? So I'll just go ahead and log in again, and I'll try to just go for restoring it directly on the VM3. First I will just try again from this machine, and then I'll go for restoring it from another machine as well. Okay. Well, yeah, when it's live, it's any error could come. If it was just theory, it would have been easier, but obviously it's live sessions. So when we're doing it again exactly the same way, anything could happen. So trying to connect to machine 2 here, VM2, and I restarted the VM virtual machine 3 as well. So I'm logged in from VM2 now. And VM3 I'm opening Ssms while opening Ssms on VM2 as well. Okay, on VM2, I'll connect to the local SQL instance, and we'll try the same step again after restarting both SQL servers. It's not really supposed to be doing what it's doing, so the DB06 was created, and it is in that path where it was saying it could not find it. Other than that, I would want to check if the NS lookup is okay on both. So name resolution is getting from the DNS, so it's okay. On machine 3, I'm going to connect again after restart from Ssms, and I'll also go for NS lookup here. So both NS lookups are okay. Control C, I'll go out. I'll ping your first name VM2 SQL, and from 3 to 2 it's pinging, and from 2 to 3 I'll ping first name VM3 SQL. So yeah, all kind of connectivities there. The pinging both sides, and NS lookup name resolution on both sides is okay. So it's just not really able to search for the path. So I'll go for machine 3, and one more thing is that there was that already one other process going on for restore that I can stop or take offline. Okay, it's still in the middle of the restore, so it's saying that here. So I'll just try to check if that is not really affecting what I'm trying to do here. It should not, because we can create as many databases as we can, and the path here is different. So I'm just going to go ahead with VM3 from within VM2, VM3 SQL Server from VM2 again, and I'll try to do that restore database. Normally it works just smooth and right away, but whenever there is a problem, obviously, then it has to be checked out. This same file is here in the backup directly. It is available over the network as well. If I just go for that same file here, and going for full database, last backup was taken at this verify backup media. There's that button here, but if I click that verify button backup media, so it's okay. It says it's okay. And options, I'm just going for again with no recovery option. So normally this is how it is supposed to be done, but if there are any other processes here that are missing, normally, well, that's why I checked it before, that this is the way. I'm just going to press OK, and then it just says the same thing again, that it cannot find that file field operating system error, system cannot find the path specified. So guys, it doesn't have to be that exact database. I'll try it on an existing database now, right? I'll cancel it from here. So DB6, I was trying to take a backup and it's copy. So I'll go for DB3, which is actually already created, an existing one, right? And I'll go for DB03, make a backup of this. Right, I'm just trying another database now quickly, and I'll try to just put it to that same UNC path here in VM1. I'm grabbing that UNC path from VM1, going back to VM2. I'm just trying another database right now. So just, oh yeah, it's over the network, it's not doing this, so I'll just grab the same file structure and copy it from there. So in Azure, well, it was working fine before at the daytime when I was testing the whole thing, so that's why I'm just a little amazed that, hey, what's wrong now? DB03, so I'm just doing an existing database here with the DB03 here. I'll just start again. Wow. This is just direct backup on the default path, successfully done. Then I have opened that path again for another W. This is DB03 now, right? So this DB03, I'll just put it on that UNC path. And paste it. DB03 backup is there. And once the backup is taken, I'll just go down and try to restore. Database is here under VM3, which is remotely connected from VM2. And again, restore database, device. So all options are pretty straightforward. And I'll just paste that UNC path. I'll grab the UNC path again from VM1, go back to refresh. Okay, so it shows here DB03. I'll grab this. First thing is the path, and then the restore with no recovery. Okay, so now I'm getting error for this one as well, and it's keep on. Okay, now it's failed without this. You cannot find the path. Now it's not. It's saying that even this path I cannot. So guys, I was getting this username password error here for the SQL servers. So it could be that over the network, Kerberos configuration and Kerberos related traffic where the authentication is showing, that could be giving a problem. So there's one screenshot that Amir has shared. Normally this works fine. So you can see I'm related to restore the statement. And okay, so no, but is that if that error comes, then this is the one, because this is an alternate way to do the same thing, right? So the same thing is not working. Is this because of the solution or workaround? If it's because of the workaround, then we should be trying that. Otherwise, if we're doing the exact same thing, the error did not actually go away. And I guess the error is about the authentication not being, they are not able to confirm from VM1. VM1 is one machine that I did not restart till now, but the two other machines I have restarted again and again. So I'm just going to go to VM1 and restart it as well. It's all about username password over the network issue, which I've never seen before, which is it's just saying that it cannot find the path, and for in order to find the path, it has to be authenticated first. So over the network traffic is being blocked for some reason, and this is just purely in Azure it's happening. It seems like I have to create this same environment in my VMware workstation quickly for the next class or right after this, and just to show you, because we need to concentrate on understanding the concepts and not the network issues here. But if we are doing live, obviously anything could go wrong in Azure, anything could go wrong in VMware workstation as well. So I'll just pause this video here and check out if the problem was resolved. So I'm just going to resume the video here. So what I'm doing is I'm just directly doing it on VM3 now, and adding it from over the network, and I'll go for options again. There is no other way other than this, but there could be workarounds. Oh, it's done. Okay. So when I was doing it remotely from here, although my screenshots prove that it worked fine while I was doing it remotely, right? So but anyway, it did not work. This means it could be that I am, there could be Kerberos over the network credentials confirmation issue would be there between VM2 and VM3. So I'm on VM3 directly. When I'm doing that, it's working fine. It's restored successfully, right? So that's okay. even that was supposed to work fine, but I think it's something to do with Azure. If anyone was doing that in local lab, or I will try to do that in local lab as well. And I've always done that, so it always works fine. It's pretty much an Azure over the network credential confirmation issue. Something over the network is dropping packets there. So I'm just gonna press OK here, and it's saying restoring now, right? DB03 is saying restoring, but since I'm still logged in from VM2 Ssms to the SQL Server in VM3, so if I go to VM2, this same database restoring should be showing there as well. And I'm back on VM2 where I was remotely connected to VM3 here. This is VM3 base SQL. So I just need to click the VM3 here and refresh. So when I refresh and come back here, so yes, I can see that there is a DB03 restoring. Ignore there is DB04, that was just practice and test. So it works fine when I do it directly here, and on Azure there could be some network issue as well. So DB03 is restoring, which means that there is synchronization going on between, restoring just means that there's no synchronization right now, but restoring just means that it's in the process of restoration right now. So what I'm going to do is I'll go for the next step. So here on second VM, take a backup of a database which you want to create a mirror of. Place this backup on a shared folder. Done. On third VM, restore this backup database. So, and once fully restored, then start the mirror option. So we don't need to wait for the restore, just we need to understand first of all, while the restore is going on, that it's restoring. While that is still going on, we can actually go for starting of the mirror process and understand that. What is mirroring then? So, or how do we start or initiate the process of mirroring? So for that, right now we understand that we have here VM2 whose database 3's backup was taken and then restored on VM3 SQL Server. VM2 SQL Server's database backup has been restored on VM3 SQL Server. So I need to initiate on top of these two similar copies the mirroring of the database. So how do I start that? So I can go here, right click, and go to okay, so yeah, I have to actually right click on this. Really? So it's this database, sorry, DB tasks and mirror. Okay, so which database is being mirrored? This one, right? DB03, and which is the actual passive database will be this. So I'm going to start on top of this database and go to tasks here and go to mirror. So once I click mirror for that particular database, then this wizard starts. Here it says, and you can see that mirroring is an option other than all the other options of the database. Here there's mirroring, and it says configure security. So ensure that security is configured for mirroring this database. Also, you can see the status here. This is a most important window here. This database has not been configured for mirroring. Obviously, right now it's saying that it is not configured for mirroring, but it will be. And once we have gone through this wizard, then we come back here. So it will say that the synchronization, it is still in the middle of synchronization. So it's going to say that, and at that time, it's kind of a wait time then. So I'm just going to click that configure security. And in the configure security, it says this wizard will help you configure the security settings for mirroring database. Your first name DB03. You can use this wizard to configure security settings on the following servers. So either you can create a principal server, or you can create a mirror server or witness, or you can configure all three. What is principal server? The active database, the server in which active database is. Well, mirror server is where the passive database is, and witness server if you have that third SQL Server, which we don't have. If you have that, then it's going to help you in case of disaster, it's gonna automatically fail over the database from principal to mirror. So I'm just gonna click next now, and first of all, it says here include witness server. So well, we don't have a third SQL Server here, so that's why. Oh, there's a message here. And yes, Hamid, it is fine, but you need to go to options and then select the no recovery with no recovery option. Okay, so I'll just go ahead. Okay, so here, do you want to configure security to include a witness server? No, we don't have a witness server, so I'm just going to click no here, and then so we don't have a third SQL Server, so that's why we are not able to click yes here, because yeah, then we have to install a third SQL Server separately as well. I'm just going to click next here with no. Now if I press yes and have a witness server, the difference is that if the machine goes down, automatically it's going to fail over. Right now we can manually fail over. It's going to still fail over, but manually. So obviously in production environment, this is something that you would not configure. You would go for the third SQL Server as well. Well, in production environment, you would spend that much money to have dedicated machines available for that. I'm just going to click next here after typing no. Then it says principal server. Which one is the principal server? It knows this one is the principal server. Listener port. So this is 5022, right? So this means that if we had Firewall open and you want mirroring traffic to go between these two guys here, so the firewall port exceptions, right? So the firewall port exceptions would be, so firewall port exceptions, the ports that the firewall need to allow the traffic for, right, will be one is 1433 here, and second is what we just saw there, and that is 5022. So if you want mirroring to happen between the two SQL servers, 5022 port has to be added in the exception in the firewall as well. And if we go ahead now, there is next. So it says that where is your mirror instance? So specify information about the server instance where the mirror copy of the database will be loaded or located. So our mirror copy of the database is located in server 3. So they say, hey, do you have a connectivity to that server? So there, it's just asking that show us if you can connect. So obviously we are gonna click the connect button. And then we're gonna connect to VM3. So just like we're connected here to VM3, so we're supposed to be connected to VM3. So we are actually connected because it is showing listener port and endpoint name is mirroring. So yes, this is the mirror instance, and yes, we can connect to that because this is populated now, right? So the principal we are connected, the mirror we are connecting, mirror server we are connected, and principal server we are connecting, and click next. So here it says that specify the service accounts of the server instances. For SQL Server accounts in the same domain or trusted domains, specify the service accounts below. If the accounts are non-domain accounts or the accounts are in untrusted domains, leave the text boxes empty. So service accounts for the following instances. So which Active Directory user accounts are taking part in letting the mirroring go ahead? So which accounts are the privileged accounts that SQL is using? So we know that our domain admin account is a privileged account which is being used by the SQL Server. So it just says that, hey, can you write the domain name as well as the domain admin account? So I will check my domain name here, and domain name is my first name SQL, and the logged in account here is your first name, admin SQL. Yeah, okay. So your first name SQL is my domain name. So your first name SQL backslash your first name as admin SQL. So that's the domain name and the privileged account. Now that's not we're writing because it's just a privileged account in the domain activity, because but also it is the highest privileged account in SQL Server as well. So I'm just going to control A, control C. So it says that, okay, on the mirror side, on the passive database side, which account is the highest privileged account that the SQL is using. So yes, this is the same user account with which we installed the SQL Server, and it is the same account that is being used by SQL instances services. So that's why, since both have the same account, so we're just putting the same account on both sides, and click next. So now there's a summary here, and it says that, okay, you have on the principal server there is this VM2 machine, and port is 5022, role is partner, and then there is that VM3 here. So this is going to be our screenshot number 6, I guess. 5, screenshot 5. Okay, so let's take a screenshot of this summary where we're completing that database mirroring summary. So screenshot 5. So this is mirroring summary. Screenshot 5 mirroring summary. So take a screenshot here, take a screenshot. Oh, well, back. Okay, this much or further? Comment. Or back, or back, and back. So I started from no here. Thanks. Oh, here. Okay, and then this, and then this, and then this, and oh, thank you, Paul. So guys, there's a screenshot 5 named as mirroring summary, and so I'm just gonna click finish here. And oh, I didn't take a screenshot myself, but yes, there's a screenshot there, and excuse me. So I'll just put that screenshot name here, and so mirroring summary. Okay. On WhatsApp. Pictures on WhatsApp. On WhatsApp, the pic is. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and so the mirroring is configuring endpoints, and it says successful here. Configure endpoint on principal server VM2, and configure endpoint on mirror server VM3. So there's that success here, and there's a report button here as well, where you can just have that report, at least what you've configured. You can save report to a file, or email it to yourself. But the thing is that if something happens later, you can actually have that as a proof that this is how I configured here. So if we click the close button here, then you will see this, and what does it say? It says here that specified database mirroring configuration settings. So principal network address is this. So over the network on TCP, it's going to VM2 is there, virtual machine 2 with this port, and mirror network address is this, VM3 on the same port. But we don't have a witness, so witness network address none. And then operating mode is right now high safety with automatic failover, synchronous. So it says that, but we need to Obviously, we can change it to asynchronous as well, which is high performance instead of high safety. To use the specified network addresses for mirroring this database, click Start Mirroring. There's a Start Mirroring button here. To wait to start mirroring, click Do Not Start Mirroring. If you want to wait for the mirroring to start, and I'm going to tell you why we need to actually wait, unless I get lucky and the two databases have been introduced to each other and synchronizing. So there's that. It's saying start mirroring. You can so click Do Not Start Mirroring. You can then start mirroring by clicking Start Mirroring on the mirroring page of the database properties dialog box. So later you can also start. Alternatively, you can exit the database properties dialog box without starting mirroring now, but you will need to configure the operating modes and server network addresses again before you can start mirroring. So it's just saying that excuse me, you can start mirroring now, and most probably you're going to see an error here that the two databases are still in the middle of synchronization, right? They haven't done synchronizing to each other, right? So when I click the start mirroring, you will see that. So and then there will be an OK button. So I'm just going to click the start mirroring now, and this is what it's saying, that database your first name DB03 cannot be opened. It is in the middle of a restore. So it's actually in the middle of a restore. It says here. So it's still restoring, and it says that after some time normally it accepts that okay, I need to start mirroring. So if I press OK here, so it says here it is in the middle of restore. I'm going to press OK, and so it says here still that this database has not been configured for mirroring yet, and it says that it's in the middle of restore. So now excuse me, normally in local environment this process of restoring also finishes fast, right? But here it is kind of giving those issues. So what needs to be done here is we can just change it from high performance, the high safety to high performance as well, which is asynchronous. But even at high safety, normally it works if both databases, if the restoring is done here, and then the mirroring could start. So sometimes it happens that you can just wait on this page and click this one, start mirroring again, and it says that it is in the middle of a restore right now. So complete restore has not been done yet. Okay, so yeah, I did give a path over the network, but this is just a that private network of VNet, and the bandwidth is supposed to be good. So it will keep on coming if it is in the middle of a restore. Normally this doesn't happen when you have local machines, which you have local network, a VMware workstation, two machines are talking to each other, and normally we don't have to wait this much for it is in the middle of a restore. So we can just take a screenshot number 6 here, that mirroring configured but database in the middle of a restore. So mirroring screenshot number 6 would be mirroring configured. Pretty much this is all to in terms of configuration. This is what you do for mirroring and the steps that we understood. So mirroring configured but database in the middle of a restore. So this would be the name, mirroring configured and database in the middle of a restore. Screenshot number 6, mirroring configured and database is in the middle of a restore. Well, that's a long one actually. So take a screenshot here for this error, because it clearly shows here it is in the middle of a restore here, mirroring configured, and DB is in the middle of a restore. So I'm just gonna go to the okay. So Hamid is also actually doing that on the local machines, which is cool. And it shows here how to fill. an exception occurred while, okay, network address 02 cannot be reached or does not exist. Check the network address name and that the ports for the local and remote endpoints are operational. So Hamid, you can double check the firewalls and try to ping each other, VM2 and VM3. It's mainly the database file is not reachable over the network, so somehow it's not reaching over the network, the other one. So if the network issue is resolved, then pretty much you have working, you may have a working error process there. So try to check pinging, try to check NSLOOKUP, try to check VMNet. Also, if you have internet open, internet second and network card is there, so disable second network cards on all machines and run config first DNS register DNS on all machines. So there's a lot of options there. Okay. Oh, your third machine was on standby. Okay, so yeah, it goes down to standby sometimes in VMware Workstation. So here, screenshot 5 and screenshot 6. Sorry. Thank you, Paul. And mirroring configured and database in the middle of restore. So screenshot 6 would be this. So I'll just go ahead and in the middle of restore. Okay. So I'll go to second machine here, and the mirroring is there now. You know, sometimes it happens that you keep on doing that, and all of a sudden the restore is done, and your mirroring is good. But over the VNet in Azure, I think it's gonna take more time. So suppose I say that okay, I'll just wait for the restore, and I'm gonna press OK. So suppose you press OK on this state on the screen where the principal and mirror have been configured to talk to each other. So I'm gonna press OK here, and it closes. But then, oh, Nirvana, I just saw that now, and I had pressed OK already. But I'm gonna go back to that page again, and you can see that again. So I'll just go ahead and right click here, tasks, and start the mirroring process again. And so in the mirroring process now you can see that it's not configured again. So suppose you press OK, so you have to just go to the wizard again, which I can go very quick. Configure security, next. No witness here, next. And then there is the principal server instance detected. Then it says, hey, show us if you can connect to the VM3. Do you have connectivity? So if I click connect and then connect again, so yes, I have connectivity, and then next. So then it says that what are the top username passwords there. So the domain name and the user account. So your first name SQL / your first name admin SQL Control A Control C, and this is the same one, so I'm just putting Control V here. Domain name and logged in account. Next, and then I'm going to click finish. So it's successful in creating the endpoints, and close. Then it again says that okay, are you ready to start mirroring? Suppose I say do not start mirroring, so I can wait for that too, but I'll show that error now. So those who did not take the screenshot, so this is a screenshot you can take, Nirvana. So this is a screenshot. It is in the middle of a restore, and the screenshot is there also showing on WhatsApp. Yeah. Okay, so this is just saying that right now the restore is in progress, right? Start mirroring. Now the thing is that I had the other machine DB04 at this particular state as well, but that was done before the class, right? So that has been doing restore for that long. So I'm just going to press OK here for DB03, and I can go for DB04, so whatever I did till now is what I did for DB04 already. I'm just going to right click here and go to tasks for DB04, which is also in that state but way back. So I'm just going to start mirroring here as well. It could be that it will still say that hey, let it restore fully and then we can do that. So this means that this whole environment is too slow for that if there's no other error. Or Hamid can also confirm if in his VMware workstation if the two machines are talking to each other or not. So configure security, I'm just going to go for DB04, which was way a few hours back, the same steps I did. And click no for witness, next, and VM2, then connect, and connect here again, next, and the username, domain and username here, and next, and finish. So status is okay, the two DB04s are, and then start mirroring, still gave me in the middle of a restore error. So this means that it is taking too much time to do that. If I go for high performance and click start mirroring, and still says in the middle of a restore. So when the restore does finish, it's taking forever. But guys, I will try to have this environment hopefully done before the next class in my VMware workstation, so I could show this lab as well as the other labs, next labs in my VMware workstation. So I don't need to be here because nobody else is there on Azure. I was here for you, otherwise I would have started this SQL Server on my VMware workstation as well. So I could just try to create the environment, SQL Server and everything on my machine, and then go ahead with some bigger labs there, because the VNet and Azure environment might have its own issues as well. Okay, so when Hamid is also trying that, and that's pretty good, pretty cool. So the error now he sees here is database does not exist on the mirror server instance. You must restore a backup of the principal database on the mirror server instance before starting. You must restore a backup of the principal on the mirror. So they're saying that, or it is saying that it cannot detect the DB04. So again, it could be it is the communication that it cannot detect the other one. Or you can just try with a new database or another existing database, the whole thing, and check it out if it works. Or just create a new database like I did and then try it again. I had some password issues which never came before. So try to do with another database, but it's not able to communicate with DB04. So either you can restart both machines, SQL02, SQL03, and then do that, or after restart still try with another database. So DB06, yeah, we backed up only DB06 and DB03 excuse me, but DB04 was I went through this long back, like a few hours back. So that's where I left it for restoring. So I'm just gonna let you know as well what happened. I'll try to check that is that going to keep staying there, or can we get over it as well from here. So I'll check it and try to add this to the video as well, that what else need to be done, although this is something that we see, but it doesn't stay that long. And in Azure, if the communication is good between the two databases, or I hope the packets are not dropping there. So so guys, this would be the point where you have all the 6 screenshots here. So I will also just check it out, but for now you can just upload these screenshots to the Blackboard, and there's the upload button there, upload link added there in week 10. So go ahead and upload the screenshots, and see you on Tuesday and Thursday. But obviously by that time I will just check if I have to create my VMware Workstation based 3 SQL Server machines. So I will have then 2 environments there, but this environment is kind of giving me all kinds of surprise errors that I never saw before. So um, so go ahead and upload those screenshots and see you on the next Tuesday. And I'll wait for it, or I will try to check out from Microsoft support as well that can there be a workaround that we can. So if there is, then I need to still take this video to the failover part where I want to show you that how to failover. Then you just click that button and it goes to the other database. Okay guys, so please upload your screenshots, 6 screenshots there, and we'll meet next Tuesday. Okay, so I'll stop the video here, or I'll pause the video here.